Good morning, guys. Happy Wednesday. I am coming to you, not live, I'm doing a video. Hopefully, a couple of my students told me that last Monday's video, this Monday's video, cut out right when I was talking about ELAR, and so you guys missed a lot. The audio cut out. You guys missed a lot of what I went over. You could just see me do it and not watch me. So I'm gonna go over what was missed with the audio and then specifically look at your math assignments today. So I'll finish going over ELAR, I'll jump to science and social studies, and then I'll finish with math. Okay, so where I ended with the audio with ELAR was going over your reading passage. So your reading passage we went through and we coded all of our questions. But don't forget, and I did Zoom with some of my students yesterday, don't forget that this revising and editing is part of your must do for your reading passage. So you have 1 through 7 that are questions about your reading passage, and then you have 1, 2, and 3 for revising and editing. So it's basically asking you how you'll read the short little passage. It's called Tightrope. And you will look at the sentences. You'll find the correct way to write sentence 2. Then it wants to write, it says read sentence 3. What's the correct way to rewrite the underlined part? And then the very last question, same thing. You're just choosing the correct way to write those questions. The other ELA assignments you can choose to do your other have to. So one was your reading passage, Saving the Snow Leopards. We went over that on Monday. The second one is you're going to read the story in your My Book, Can We Be Friends? And you're going to answer the selection quiz. Some of you guys did really, really good on this. Remember to code your questions first before you read it. Then you're reading for purpose. But remember, there's only 5 questions. So you miss one, you're already at an 80. So really be careful with those. Your grammar is TION. And we talked about, I know I kept saying that this was backwards. It's only backwards to me. I'm not as tech savvy as Miss Muniz. So Miss Muniz has got some really great videos on her YouTube channel. I'm kind of an amateur at it because, you know, she's way better at technology than me. But I thought they were showing backwards. They're not. They're showing right for you. They're backwards for me. Okay, so let's look a little bit at this. So all you're doing is finding the word with TION. So for number 1, it was preservation. And then you're writing the root word. So I wrote the root word preserve. That's all you're doing on these. Let me see. The next page is over colons. Okay, so, use a colon to set off a list that is already introduced. So for example, the following people will create a maze: Ellen, Sophia, and Devin. So if I said, like when I messaged your parents back and I said, so-and-so's grades are, I put a colon, and then I did ELAR, 98, math, 87. That's what you use. You use it to say, listen, I'm about to give a list. So what you're doing is you're putting the colon where it belongs in the sentence. Parentheses are used to set off information, so a sentence disruptor, that it's going to explain something. So a labyrinth, and then they put in parentheses, sometimes called a unicursal maze, has a single path that winds down the center. So you're just putting it around that description. So I could say, Macy, my daughter, who is always eating all my food, ate the rest of our pot roast. Okay? So describes. A hyphen. When you use a hyphen, it's for compound adjectives. So remember, adjectives describe nouns. A hyphen uses that. So 58 people listen to the poet reader story. I put a hyphen between 50 and 8. Okay? We listen to a 2-hour lecture. I put a hyphen between 2 and hour. Okay? All you're doing is putting the hyphens. Some of your other choices for this week, so I went over the suffixes, I went over selection quiz, your have to, so I only, and I sent your parents one that's already printed out, but for those of you who don't have printers, you can create it. I only need your colored choice board and your selection quiz answers and your reading passage answers. That's all I need. Everything else you're keeping for yourself. You can choose to write a poem about animal friendships. You could get online and research. And so when I say animal friendships, the scientific word for that is symbiosis. So it's two animals that really help each other out. You can research that. You can make an anchor chart comparing and contrasting human and animal friendships. So you and your pet, you could write something about that. But if you have any issues with that, let me know. So let's jump to science and social studies. So for science, your have to is your, so here's your answer document for science, is your EduSmart quiz over comparing structures. So I believe in the EduSmart notes that are in your packet, it's comparing an Arctic fox and a Finnic fox. You're gonna go right to those notes and find your answers. You may use your science notebook. You may use online research. If you wanna look up, that's totally okay. You can use your science notebook. You can use anything at your disposal that you have. And you still can't get it, then you can message me and I can help you. So you're filling out, it's 10 questions on comparing the Finnic and the Arctic fox. Your social studies must do is your week 24 quiz. You can either do it on paper, that means recording your answers here. Don't make mom send all those pictures. Just record your answers here. Remember, I even sent these out for parents to just print right off if you have a printer. Now, one good thing to know. 1 through 8 are your have-tos. 9, 10, and 11, you do not have to do. They are bonus questions. If you choose to do those and you get them correct, they're 5 points apiece. Okay, if you choose to do it and you don't get it correct, it doesn't hurt your grade. So 1 through 8 are the questions I need. 9, 10, and 11 are bonus. You can do them if you want. If you don't want to do them, you don't have to do them. If you choose to do them and you get them right, then you get 5 points apiece for each correct answer. So let's look at your choice sports. Remember, I only need these two for mom and dad, and I really prefer if they can send it through email. And the reason I say email is because it makes it really big on my computer and I can grade it really great. Remind, it'll tell your parents it sent all the pictures and it only sends the first one. So either text message, that's fine, or email. Both are fine. Okay, so the writing science, you're going to be writing about the differences between a black bear and a polar bear. You can choose to do the concept builder. That is in your packet. It's animals past and present. It's a research project if you'd like to do it. Say you finished all your work and you're super, bored. Do a research project. It's very interesting. You can present to your family. There is a little informational PowerPoint about organisms and environments. You read it, and then I want you to go out in your yard and look for insects, because it was about insects to observe, and then write a little short paragraph summarizing their body structures and functions. Important to know, your textbook, science textbook, you have already done, I think with the sub, pages 106 and 109. That's okay. That's okay. If you already done it, that's fine. If it's not in there, no worries. Just do the 164 through 167. Remember, you don't have to send me this. Just color it in that you did it. Your week 19 crossword, you can choose to do that. Your YouTube video, you can watch it. It's on Animal Adaptations on YouTube. It's by Periwinkle. Or you can choose the Explore activity. So the Explore activity is looking at animal tracks, using that to fill out your handout. And then part 2 is to create your own new animal. So that would be fun. There was a part 3 on this. I marked through it. That was something we would have done in class. It had matching cards and stuff. It was just a lot to send home for you. Remember, ELAR, we only need your 2 have-tos and then 2 other boxes colored in. Okay, 2 have-tos you turn in. Make sure you've done 2 additional boxes because you're only doing 4 this week because of Good Friday. You should be done so that you can enjoy Good Friday with your family. Same thing with math. Your 2 have-tos and then 2 additional activities of your choice. And we're about to go over math. Science stays the same. You do your week 24 quiz, either online or send me your answers on an answer document. And you do your EduSmart quiz. That's it. That's all, and then you choose one other one. So you could choose to watch the video, You could choose to do the nature where you walk outside and you talk about structures. You can choose to do your textbook pages. It's really your choice. Okay, so that's science and social studies. That's the rest of ELAR to help you. Let's look at math. So first, your math have-tos are your topic 7 test, and here I have the handwritten. Remember, I've sent a printed one to your parents. It's on their email. If your parents aren't getting my emails, comment below or let me know, have mom and dad message me, because it's really important that mom and dad, I can reach them by email, because after the first 3 weeks with our readers, I'm going to send them through email. They're going to be on your parents' email. So just make sure your parents have an email I can reach them on. And then the second have-to is your topic 12 test. So I went over what these were, but remember, you couldn't hear me. Okay, so before we look at, we'll look and then we'll go back through. So the first one is your topic 7 test. Guys, for some reason, this is not in your textbook. I have emailed your parents a copy of it. Okay, if your parents did not get a copy of it, message me and I'll email it again. I also sent it through Remind. Okay, we're going to go through this question by question, so it should be pretty easy for you to follow along and look at. Your second have-to is over geometry. So triangles, parallelograms. Remember the sum of the 3 angles in triangle. Because remember, triangle is a 2-dimensional shape with three closed sides. All of the angles can only add up to 180. So if you already have a 90-degree angle, you have to have 2 acute angles, because guess what? Remember, acute is less than 90. A right angle, it's got the little square, is 90. And anything greater than 90 is obtuse. But add it all together, all of your angles cannot exceed 180 degrees. So definitely remember that when you're working on this. So, and it asks you things like, which of the following can be used to describe this square? Opposite sides are perpendicular. Remember, perpendicular means like this, like an L. Parallel means they're never going to touch, like this. All angles are obtuse. What do we know about squares? All the angles are right. So definitely go to your notes. Where I have my notes here. Remember, we have our notebooks. You should have your notebooks. Definitely go to your notebooks. Okay? And it has all of these notes in it. You should know everything about squares, parallelograms, triangles. We have all of our notes on all of these shapes. All the different triangles are in there. Our quadrilaterals, everything's in there in your notes. So make sure that you go to your notes. We'll come back to topic 7. Your other choices for math. So those are your 2 have-tos. Those are the ones you're going to turn into me. And then this colored page. That's it. Nothing else. Okay. So you only choose 2 other ones to do. So some of your choices are to watch a YouTube video. It's called Types of Quadrilaterals with Mr. J. That's a really great video. You're just watching it. That's it. So that could be one of yours. Bam, done. You could do a classifying 2D shape worksheet. So let me pull that for you so you can look at it. It's this one. Okay, so it gives a little lesson. Look at all that information about 2-dimensional shapes. And then you do the example questions. This does not get turned into me. This is practice. Okay. You could do a brain pop video. Okay. The password on the brain pop video is incorrect. Okay. It needs to say Vickers 1. So make sure you make that adjustment. Okay. Vickers 1. Vickers LMN is the username, but the password is wrong. It should be just Vickers 1, not Lions 1. Vickers 1. You could choose to do your Lone Star, and guess what? You guys are used to doing all your Lone Star. This is just 1 page. You could easily knock this out and no problem at all, okay? Do not turn that into me. That's not a have-to that needs to be turned into me. You could rewrite some false statements to make them true. You could explain why a triangle can have 2 acute angles, but can't have 2 right and can't have 2 obtuse. We just talked about that. Remember how many degrees the sum of the angles can be. And you could do some practice on coordinate planes. Okay, so those are your choices for math. Let's go over your topic 7 test, because that's over fractions, and fractions always give us a little bit of an issue. So let's look at number 1. Okay, number 1 says the table shows waterfowl that Henry, okay, so fowl is birds, don't be thrown off by fancy words, that counted in the lake. So here they're giving me a chart. Remember what I said about the chart? Really look at the chart and analyze it. In its simplest form, the waterfowl are mallards. So I can see Canadian geese 5, cranes 3, and mallards 12. So they want to know which of the following is a fraction that represents the fraction in simplest form of the fowl that are mallards. Okay, so when they want you to create this fraction, remember, numerator is the part you're looking at. So how many mallards? So that would be 12. Denominator is how many all together. So 12 plus 3 is 15. 15 plus 5 more is 20. Okay, 12 20ths. When you say, oh, Miss Trink, 12 20ths isn't on there, we did it wrong. We didn't. Okay, we have to reduce. Do not forget to reduce. So I can see these are both even numbers. So I could divide them both by 2, but is there something else greater that they both could be divided by? So I'm going to think about skip counting by 12. So 12 can be divided by 2. Can it be divided by 3? Yes. Can 20 be divided by 3? Okay. What about 4? Can 12 be divided by 4? Can 20 be divided by 4? So I'm going to divide by my funny one, 4 over 4. 12 divided by 4 is 3. 20 divided by 4 is 5. So my correct answer is A. And I'm not going to work all these out with you. I'm going to talk you through some of them, but I'm just going to show you kind of what you need to do on all of them. Okay, number 2 says Pam is writing prime numbers. Okay, remember prime. Go back to your math notebook. Prime means it cannot be divided by anything other than 1 and itself. So for example, 3 is prime. There is nothing that you can divide into 3 that it will be even other than 1 and 3. That's it. So which of the following is not one of Pam's numbers? So she's looking for prime numbers between 1 and 20. Guess what? You have your sieve of Aranthos, so you can open it up and see every prime number between 1 and 100. I would go and look between 1 and 20. Which one of these is prime? And remember, just because it's odd does not mean it's prime. 9 is a commonly chosen prime number, and 9 is not prime because guess what? 9 can be divided by 3. 3 times 3 is 9. 9 divided by 3 is 3. Even though it's just one number, then it makes it prime. It only can be divided by 1 in itself for it to be prime. Otherwise, it's composite. Number 3 says Sandra drove for 1/3 of an hour to get to the store. Then she drove 1/5 of an hour to get to the library, unlike fractions. What fraction of an hour did Sandra drive in all? So we were going to add those 2 fractions. Okay? You're going to find a common denominator. Remember, when you find a common denominator, you find something that they both can divide into. I like to start with the smallest denominator and skip count. So 3. 3 times 1 is 3. Can 5 go into 3? 3 times 2 is 6. Can 5 go into 6? 3 times 3 is 9. Can 5 go into 9? 3 times 4 is 12. Can 5 go into 12? 3 times 5 is 15. Can 5 go into 15? It sure can. You can also start opposite and do the bigger numbers. The reason I start with smaller numbers is some of us still struggle with our multiplication facts, and it's easy to know the smaller ones. But really, 5s are easy. I could have gone 5. No, 3 won't go into not 5. 10. No, 3 won't go into 10. 15. Ooh, they both go into 15. So I'm going to write 15 for my denominator. And I always like to write, there's my denominator, I was right at the bottom, so I can never make the mistake of adding my denominators. I'm never going to add my denominators. So how do I get from 3 to 15? I multiply by 5. So what I do to the top, I have to do to the bottom. Funny one, 5 over 5. And then how do I get from 5 to 15? I multiply times 3. So then I multiply by 3 over 3. Okay, I'm not going to work that completely out with you, but I sure did set it up. Really good for you to work out. And you multiply numerators straight across, and you only add the numerators. Okay? If you do not see your answer here, it might be because you need to reduce. So be careful with that. Number 4 says, Cecil wrote the fraction 4/6. Susie wants to write an equivalent fraction, which means they're equal. So it means I could probably reduce 4/6 and find Susie's equivalent fraction, or multiply a funny 1 times 4/6 and find Susie's equivalent fraction. So look at those. Be careful with all of the above. Make sure you're really sure, okay? Make sure you're really sure if you pick. Be careful with all of the above or none of the above. Just be really sure before you pick that answer. Number 5 says, Benjamin and his sister shared a sandwich. Benjamin ate 3 bits of the sandwich. His sister ate 1/10. What is the best way to estimate how much more Ben ate than his sister? So remember, when we estimate fractions, we are estimating using benchmark fractions. We are seeing, is it closer to 0, 1/2, or 1 whole? That's the only thing we're rounding fractions to. So thinking about 3 fifths, is that closer to 0, 1/2, or 1 whole? I would think it's either 1/2 or 1 whole. 1/10 is pretty small fraction, so I would say hers would probably be a 0. But you'll have to look at those and decide which one matches. Number 6 says, Roger has 5/12 of a jar of jam and 3/8 of a jar of blackberry jam and 3/8 of a jar of strawberry. Which pair of fractions renames? Guess what? Renames means equivalent fractions. 5/12 and 3/8 using a common denominator. So what would they have in common? Find the common denominator for 8 and 12. So you're going to look at those and think, I can look here. Is there anything I can do to 8 to make it 12? Maybe not. Okay, especially not with those numerators staying the same. Think about 16. Is there anything I can do to 12 to make it 16? Okay, then look at the other ones. On the back, number 7, of the balls in Luke's garage, 1/3 are basketballs and 1/15 are soccer balls. What fraction of the balls in the simplest form, that means reduce, 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 are either basketball or soccer ball? So you're going to add those 2 fractions together, okay? Add them together. Number 8 says, the strip diagram below shows the fractional parts of a pizza eaten by Pablo and Jamie. Use the strip diagram to write an equation representing. So basically, total amount means adding. Don't be thrown off because it's a strip diagram, okay? You're just adding those 2 fractions, okay? There's no answer choice here, so you just have to be real careful, make sure your work's good and correct, because you don't want to, there's nothing to choose from. You can't, base it off that. Number 9 is a griddable. Be careful with griddables. I know we label them here. You're just going to write them out for me, but in the future, especially when you go to take benchmarks and stuff next year, make sure that you're careful where you put your place values for your griddables. Terry and her friends bought a party-sized sandwich that was 7/8 yards long. They ate 1/3. 8, 8, 8. Okay? That means subtract. If they're eating it, then it's gone. Okay? You're not going to get it back. It was 7/8 yard long. They ate 1/3 of it. So this is going to be a subtraction problem, and it keeps saying simplest form, simplest form. If it is not its simplest form, it is wrong. If you were to give me the fraction 4/6 and it said right in its simplest form, it's wrong, because you should have reduced it to 2/3. So be very, very careful with that. So you are going to subtract 7/9 minus 1/3. Okay? You are only, once you find a common denominator, you are only subtracting the numerators. You are never subtracting your denominators, so be very careful with that. Number 10 says, Micah read 1/6 of a book on Monday and 3/8 on Tuesday. Susan read 5/8 of the same, 5/6 of the same book. How much more of the book has Susan read than Micah? So this is a two-step problem. So when I have two-step problems, I like to set them up in equations so I'll never miss a step, because what do we always talk about? There's always a halfway answer. Always. They're always counting on you only working the problem halfway. So I know I'm going to subtract from Susan because it says how much more has Susan read than Micah. So I know she's read more. So I'm going to write 5/6 minus, because that's what Susan read. 5/6 minus. But before I subtract, I have to find out how much Micah read, and it gave me two different fractions. So I'm going to have to add 1/6 plus 3/8. And I absolutely put that in, parentheses. Because guess what? When you set up an equation, that's going to help you not miss a step. So I know I absolutely have to add these two numbers. Then once I find this number, I need to simplify in its smallest form, then subtract from Susan's number. Guys, I guarantee when you add these, your answer is going to be here. Don't be fooled, okay? Don't be fooled. They always love to put those halfway answers. Don't be fooled. Go ahead and don't forget to subtract from Susan. That's why we set up equations, not because I like to make you write a whole bunch. It's so we don't miss a step. Number 11 says, Nikolai says that the fraction 16/28 can be written in its simplest form as 1/2. Is he correct? So if I reduce that all the way down, does it get down to 1/2? Try it. If not, if you do it all the way and you're like, no way it's 1/3 or no way it's 1/4, explain how to write a fraction simplest form. So you're going to have to reduce it down and see, is 16/28 eventually divide all the way down to 1/2, okay? And the very last one on topic 7 says, Reese is studying for a math test. A review problem lists the numbers 9, 16, 21, 47, and 52. Which of these numbers is a prime number? Remember, prime numbers are only divisible by one of themselves. But look, easy, easy, easy. Go to your sieve of Eranthos. And when I say sieve of Eranthos, you'll be like, Miss Trina, I don't even know what you're talking about, sieve of Eranthos. So we did this when we studied. Let me go back to our notes. When we studied prime and composite numbers, go back to your sieve of Eranthos and find the prime number. Remember, if it ends in 2, 0, 5, 4, anything even, no way is it prime because it can be divisible by 2. If it ends in 5 or 0, it can be divisible by 5. Remember our divisibility rules. So here we are. La la la. Okay. It's under algebraic reasoning. Okay. You've got your divisibility rules. And here it is, your sieve of Eranthos. See, all the ones that are highlighted in yellow are prime. So I can look between, remember we were talking about like 1 and 20? 1 and 20. I can see that 11, 13, 17, and 19 are prime. Guess what? 15's odd, but it's not prime because it's divisible by 5 and 3. Okay? All the ones that are white and highlighted in yellow are your prime numbers. This is in your math notebook. It is so, so helpful. So please go back to your math notebook and find it. Okay, that was the last question for the topic 7 test. Topic 12, really use your notes. If you struggle with any of them, let me know. Main thing to remember is the angles of a triangle cannot equal, the sum cannot equal greater than 180. Acute triangles are less than 90 degrees. Right triangles are exactly 90 degrees. They got that little L in the box. And obtuse are greater than 90 degrees, even by a little bit. I hope I've covered everything that you need to know for this week. If I haven't, please let me know. Comment below or have your parents message me. If you are missing any of these papers, I can scan them and send them to your parents. I can email them and I can send pictures. So let me know. I checked in weeks to come and I'm pretty sure we're good now. It was just this one. I guess you guys had done a couple of pages. that with a sub or something, and it wasn't in there. And I didn't know because I didn't have your book. What else? Things to know. Oh, we're going to start doing a Zoom meeting Tuesday afternoons at 2. Tuesday at 2. And I'll send your parents an invite. When we do Zoom, guys, when you come in, I'm going to have you muted. I'm not going to let you unmute yourself. I'll unmute you. We did do a Zoom. It was a lot of fun, but we had issues with everybody talking at once and we couldn't hear. I know I couldn't hear when I would ask someone a question. Everybody was too busy talking. And also when you're on Zoom, please just be staying and interacting with us. Please don't be running around your house, running around the room. If you don't have time, and it's okay, Zooms are not mandatory. You do not have to get on Zoom. I'm not doing instruction on Zoom because once Zoom is gone, it's gone. And I don't want, now you can ask me questions and I can work things out, but my lessons are going to be on YouTube because you can replay them over and over again. You can pause them, you can go back. Zoom, once the lesson's taught, it's gone, or once the meeting's done, it's gone. But that being said, if you don't have time to be on it, if you're going to need to be running around and doing stuff, it's okay. You don't have to be on it. But if you are on it, I'm asking for you to be engaged and to be sitting and to talking to us. It's fine if like your mom asks you something, you have to turn and answer her. But we had some students that were actually just running around their house with their phone, and that's just not what that's for, okay? It says for us, so what it's for is for us to see each other's faces, which we can't see your face if you're running around your house. It's for you to ask questions that you have. It's for me to ask you. So now that I did a Zoom, I know that probably later in the afternoon's easier for you guys to get on. 10 was a little early. So I also would have never known that my audio cut out on YouTube on Monday. So those are all good things. So we'll do a weekly quick check-in, probably about 30 minutes. This past week we had a special guest. Miss Daniels popped in. I'm going to see if some other special guests want to pop in next time. But we are going to be respectful of waiting our turn to talk. We are going to be respectful for sitting in place and interacting. And if anytime you need to leave the meeting, you can. You're not tied to it. You're not in trouble if you don't get on Zoom. It's not something you're going to be in trouble for. It's just a check-in if you want to check in. If you don't want to check in, you don't have to check in. It's just a way for us to talk. But all of my instruction will be done here on YouTube. I've sent your parents a list of YouTube resources Miss Munoz spent a lot of time putting together. She also has a YouTube channel that's really fabulous. You know, Miss Munoz is a lot more tech savvy than I am. So hers are pretty great. So if you're not getting it from me, or if you'd like to just go over and look at hers, absolutely do that. Just search for Miss Munoz. She's got some really great instructional videos too. Make sure you're doing your Imagine Learning and your Imagine Math. I check those every week. Shout out to Kyla English, who finished all of the lessons, I believe, and it told her she had no more Imagine to do. So we should all be working for that. So shout out to her. Shout out to all the people that went through and actually did Imagine this past week. I know it's a lot. I know it's a lot. Just do the best you can. That's what I tell my own kids. Do your have-tos first, and then do the best you can on the rest of it. We're all learning. We're all new at this. But definitely you can call me. You can message me. You can FaceTime me. Have your parents email me, and I can help you with any questions you have. Remember, your work is not due until Sunday evening. That being said, if you're already done, I already have kids turning in their work. Shout out to Carissa. I believe Carissa's already turned in all her work for this week. Who else is, I believe Ben has turned in some work this week. Who else? There was someone else. I want to say Kyla. But as you finish it, if you want to turn it in, just have your parents either text it to me or send it on email. Just not remind, okay? Because remind tricks you into thinking it sent the pictures, and it doesn't. So remember, just the answer document, just a colored sheet. That's it. That's all I need. I don't need anything else from you. I hope everyone has a really happy Easter. If I don't see you or talk to you before then, I'll probably reach out to you and talk to you. soon. Some of you guys I talked to yesterday, but those of you who didn't get a chance to join Zoom, I'll probably reach out to you and talk to you. I mean, probably, I will. And just make sure if you have any questions. If you're not comfortable with commenting on here, have your parents private message me or you call me. Okay, that's another thing. So on the Zoom, I told students I wanted to add them to my Remind. It's not letting me. It has to be parents. So I think it's different once you get to like middle school and high school. They let the older kids, but I tried Natalie's and I tried Gavin's and it would not let me add them. So I'm so sorry. I thought we could do that, but it's just not letting me do it. But that being said, you can text me from your parents' phone. You can remind me from your parents' phone. I think that's it for today. I hope you're having a really good day. And like I said, the work should, you can turn it in at any time, but please have it to me by Sunday around 8 so I can get it graded. All the grades are in the grade book. So some of the assignments, remember that I hold your assignments for 2 weeks. So when we left for spring break, you had like 3 assignments you had already done and already did corrections with me over. So those grades went in the grade book and there were some really great grades. So those will went in the grade book for last week because they were due last week. They would have been done when we came back from spring break. That's when I would have started putting zeros in, but everybody did their corrections with me. Those of you who didn't, as some of you know, I reached out to you and we did them over the phone. And the ones that you did for this past week are in for this week, but you can still do corrections. So if you did not make a passing grade on any of your assignments from this past week, correct it. Parents, take a picture, email it back to me, and I will give you an average of up to 70 on your work. So you still can do corrections. If parents aren't there to do corrections with you, message me and I can do corrections with you. Okay? I think that's it. I think I covered everything. I hope the audio didn't cut out, but I hope you have a really great week and a really happy Easter. So I'll talk to y'all later. Bye.